Next, on a visit to Libya, France's Foreign Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian has pledged support for efforts to resolve the country's political and security crisis. Well, Le Drian held talks with Fayez Sarraj, the Prime Minister designate of the UN-backed government. That was in the capital, Tripoli, before meeting with the military strongman Khalifa Haftar in the east of the country. Well, the visit is a follow-up to a July 25th accord that was signed right here in Paris between the GNA head Fayez al-Sarraj and Haftar himself. Well, Libya was plunged into chaos after the 2011 NATO-backed uprising that toppled and killed a long-time dictator Muammar Gaddafi. Well, to talk more about Libya, Marie Martin is Migration and Asylum Programme Officer for the NGO EuroMed Rights. She joins us in the studio. Thank you for speaking to France 24. Now, Jean-Yves Le Drian in Libya today, pledging support in terms of resolving the country's security crisis. Talk us through, if you will, how asylum and migration are impacted by this ongoing security issue.
Well, we're talking about a country that has no constitution as of today. We're talking about a country that is not a signatory of the Geneva Convention in relation to the status of refugees as of today. So there's absolutely a complete legal vacuum as regards the rights of migrants, refugees in these countries, in addition to the fact that the usual, the nationals of Libya would themselves feel deprived of a number of safeguards as regards their civil liberties. So we're talking about a country with which there's absolutely no ground for talking when it comes to really ensuring people's access to their rights. That doesn't mean that there shouldn't be no political dialogue, but at the moment it's absolutely not possible to envisage a second to leave people there if they want to leave that country, because there's no way for them to claim their rights if they wish to have any. There's no state of law, etc. So what we fear is that it may reproduce the same pattern as what's going on with Libya over the past 10 years. I mean, before...
Your organisation, EuroMed Rights, is speaking to migrants and asylum seekers on the ground on a regular basis. What kind of conditions are people telling you that they're living in?
Yeah, it's exactly the same conditions that you can read in a number of reports. What we have as well is a contact with civil human rights organisation, independent human rights organisation, working on the ground, working in detention centres with those migrants and refugees and trying to take them out of those torture centres for many of them. So what we see and what we witness and what people on the ground witness is exactly the same as what the latest reports of Doctors Without Borders, Oxfam, among many, would testify of, including the United Nations. So torture, ill treatment, abuse. What we see is also the impossibility for civil society organisation to be part of the process, something that is lacking very much in France's speech today when it comes to having a plan for Libya. When it comes to migration and asylum, we regret there's actually no human rights organisation, and there are some local ones not to be associated to that process.
You touched on the UN there. The UN has said previously that they want to see all detention centres closed for good. As far as EuroMed Rights is concerned, is that a viable option?
It's impossible in the moment when it comes to at least having a sovereign power, knowing what's going on in the country. Today, we're talking about at least 3 main parts of the countries. We don't even know who's ruling what. And when it comes to detention centres, we know that this is ruled by militias. This is ruled by a number of interests, which go way beyond what any kind of representative politically could ever grab on. So this is absolutely not something in sight at the moment, even though we would welcome that the centres are closed, of course.
Is there a feeling that militias and, in some cases, certain authorities are increasingly taking advantage of the chaos that's on the ground in Libya?
That's very likely, and it's not just in Libya. I mean, whenever you close a route, whenever you make people have to go in the shadows to actually accomplish what is their desire, i.e., to exert their freedom of movement, which is enshrined in international law, then of course you end up having this shadow economy developing and mushrooming as it is, and it's at all borders. We see this, a number of smuggling networks and trafficking networks developing to facilitate the passage for those and to take advantage and abuse human.
Okay, Marie Martin, you're Migration and Asylum Programme Officer for the NGO EuroMed Rights. Thank you for your time this afternoon.